like you stumbled in here by accident. But don't worry, I'm not Chris Henson. Why don't you take a seat? My name's Ryan Quinn. I'm the host of the Screenwriters Pub. So now that we've had all of our milk and cookies and we're all settled in here, let's talk about what this channel is really about. Screenwriters Pub, we're going to talk about movies in general, writing movies, industry experiences that I've had, industry experiences I know other people have had, and we're going to kind of delve into what it takes to get seen in movies, everything movie. If you stayed this long, I imagine you have some type of love for movies yourself. So today we're going to jump in. First, we're going to talk about The Night of the Living Dead. It's one of my favorite movies of all times, and I'm ready to tell you about it. What I love most about The Night of the Living Dead is the old school aspect of it. There's not been another zombie movie to date, in my opinion, that's been made that's anything even close to it. It's where the bar is set. It's up here, in my book. And there's a lot of reasons for that. The zombies were slow, walking, up through the fields and all that. You had your naked zombies, you had your raw gore and all those things. And it built a suspense that you just don't get in the movies now, with the running, the sprinting zombies, they're crawling over each other and all that bullshit. It's, to me, takes away from it. Takes away from the zombie aspect, the fear. All that really gives me is anxiety. Just anxiety. I don't really feel fear when I'm watching those zombie movies. Now, when I was a child, we used to rent this movie all the time, and I was creeped out. I was always looking for it, though. It was a good creeped out. It was a comforting creeped out. It was a movie, on a rainy night, that we're trying to watch, growing up. So, those are some of the reasons that, to me, this is the greatest zombie movie ever made. We're going to go into a little bit further detail. I'm going to show some clips from the movie. Got the footage off of YouTube, so should be all good. Let's take a look. Alright, so now we've seen that. What do you think? Put your comments below on that opening scene of how did it make you feel? Could you imagine, living in a house, old farmhouse with a graveyard so close, just over the hill, and the dead start walking? I mean, come on. To me, that's one of the scariest scenarios that you could probably ever be in. Hopefully we never see it in our time. The way things are going, I don't know. But, so, with that being said, seeing that scene, I've seen that version as a child before I ever saw the original that was done, way back in the day, black and white, fantastic movie. Same vibe, way ahead of its time. My mother used to tell me a story about going to watch it at the drive-in movie theater, with cousins, and just how terrified that they all were. I could only imagine, seeing that type of a movie back then. So, to do it again in the 90s, and for me to see that version first, it was terrifying. I mean, looking back at it now, obviously you can see, you notice when his head hits the grave, that it's clearly a dummy. They did the best they could. And I think that's one of the things that I love about it the most, that they did the best that they could. But those zombies in that scene were just terrifying. And the zombie she thinks is the person that's walking, she starts yelling for help, and then slowly his suit starts to pull off of him. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Terror. And for her to find herself running to a farmhouse after having that happen, and then what happens next in the farmhouse, come on. So, but there's so many layers. There's so many layers to this movie. You've got your social aspect of it. Eventually, you'll see the people come up from the basement. Cooper and the fella and his girlfriend. And, Cooper's kind of the asshole. Nobody could stand him type guy. He was a leader before Ben shows up. Which honestly, Tony Todd, nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Because that's a hard act to follow from the original, and I think he really did a wonderful job. So we'll show some more clips, and then we're going to talk about some of the differences between the original, how it played out, and how the remake came about. So let's take a look at this, and we'll see what happens. So on the recap, look at the differences. You've got Ben in the original. He dies at the very end, but he was still alive when he dies. In the remake, Ben's a zombie, doesn't make it, still dies. Also, the lead, completely different. In the original, she's kind of weak. She doesn't really stand her ground. At one point in time, Ben has to smack some sense into her, which was wild. But she doesn't make it. She dies. In the remake, 90s, she's empowered. She's the survivor, and she ends up making it. So, did I mention there'd be spoilers? Anyways, so, these are just some of the reasons, to me, like, look at the other movies that you've seen, and think about it, like, what other zombie movie had so much going on, so much with the characters, the disgruntledness amongst each other, as they're trying to figure out, how to survive, who's going to fall in line. Was there a racial aspect? Maybe a little bit of an overtone, or undertone, whatever you would say. Yeah, there was a lot going on that really adds to the movie. Just shows you how well characters can carry a movie. If you have the right people, if you have the right staff and casting, you can really do a lot in limited locations. And I think that was one of the greatest things about it. It's all in this farmhouse. Cemetery and a farmhouse. And they nailed it. They absolutely nailed it. So I wouldn't be doing my due diligence if I didn't mention Fiverr.com. So if you're a screenwriter and you want to do something with your scripts, you think that your script is right there, but you just can't quite get it out there, go to Fiverr. There's somebody there for whatever it is that you might need that can help you, whether it's a poster for your script that you want to put up to promote it, whether it is a person that needs to edit it for you, they can do that. They're there. There's people who offer to pretty much write your entire screenplay for you. That's not my bag. I'd rather write mine up. However, I can help. My links are below. If you need help trying to get your stuff out there, I've done it, on my own. Coming from a small town, it's not easy. You're not in LA, it's hard to get in there, especially if you don't have some type of fancy college degree. But you can do it. You can learn, and you can adapt, and you can really make if it's your passion, you can really make a difference. So I want to see you, commenting below, and I appreciate your time. Thanks for watching.